Welcome everyone to another session of our Global Employability Expert Series. My name is Mirta Aguirre. I am the head of employability of Virtual Internships. And today we have a very interesting topic. I'm not saying this because I'm bringing this topic. I'm saying this because I think this is super useful and something that I would have liked to know long time ago before I started working and doing many things in life, which is how to become a time manager expert. Okay, that's a very interesting topic and very useful skill. So today in our webinar, we're going to discover some tools and techniques to become more productive and approach our tasks more smoothly, right? So if this is your first time joining us, let me tell you how this works. We are recording this webinar, so you can find this recording and all our previous recording in our YouTube channel, and there you will find all of our webinars. Please ask any questions, okay? I want this to be interactive. It's going to be me and you, so please ask questions. You can use the chat, you can use the Q&A section, so definitely go for it. Ask many questions, share. I wanted this to be more of a dialogue between you and me. So let's go for it. So in today's sessions, what are we going to discuss? Well, we all know time is a limited resource, right? No matter what we do, we only have 24 hours in a day. Therefore, knowing how to manage our time wisely is a key skill for work and life that will bring us lots of benefits. So today we're going to learn a little bit about how to set SMART goals, how to prioritize our tasks and responsibilities, some techniques to plan our weeks and days productively, and some tips and resources to make our days run smoothly. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce myself for those who don't know me. I'm Mirta Aguirre. I'm from Argentina. As I mentioned, I love education, teaching. I've always been a knowledge consumer. I'm a certified coach and an expert in mentoring people, especially recent graduates, to reach their full potential and achieve their goals. There are so many things I would have liked to know when I finished university, and I was super lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do next, how to do it. So now I'm doing a little bit what I've liked to have received as I was a recent graduate, just like you. So I love languages, as I previously said. I'm all into communicating, so I speak my language: Spanish, English, French, Portuguese, German, and hopefully in the future, many other more. And I hold a master's degree in education. I did a certificate and master's, full master's in education and international development at UCL in London. And I work as the head of employability and coaching here at Virtual Internships. So I love my work. I love what I do. And I'm very happy because I get to share with you all the things I'm very passionate about. So let's begin, okay? How are we doing? Can you just write something on the chat so I know you're there, that we're here? Can you just say, I'm here in the chat, so we can sense a little bit of how many people are joining. Thank you, you're there. Amazing. So, excellent. Thank you, you're all there. Amazing. So let's begin, right? 524,600 minutes. If you are a fan of musicals like me, probably you know this number in a song version from the musical Rent, right? 500, 2,500, 600 years. So this is the amount of minutes that we have in a year, which is a lot, quite a lot, right? And what are, hi, David. And so what do you do with them? What do you do with so many minutes? Are you using them properly, or are you wasting them? We know time is limited resource, energy is limited resource, and we need to learn to manage these resources wisely in order to maximize our ability to achieve results and do many interesting things with our time, right? So why do we want to manage our time? Right? Why is this important? Well, we have many things we could say about it, but let's just explore a little bit some of them. Why do we want to improve our time management? Well, first of all, because it allows us to develop positive habits. We know we can have bad habits, positive habits, but when we manage our time wisely, we can learn to have positive routines that will help us throughout our day and throughout our lives. And that means we can be more productive and efficient. That means using less resources and achieving more results. One other very important aspect of being able to manage our time properly is to take ownership of our own situation and even life, right? Why? Because when you don't manage your time, people, external factors are deciding for you, right? You become a little bit of dependent on what happens out there because things may take longer as you expected, because you didn't plan, because you are trapped in situations where, oh, I'm wasting so much time. And the contrary of that is like taking ownership of what you do with this very precious resource. Of course, when we can manage our time, we have peace of mind, right? Because we said, okay, we are the ones who are taking care of how everything is running. That gives us agency and that gives us peace. And that's really comforting, right? Of course, this gives us lots of free energy and mental space to do whatever we want, and especially to release our brains from having a burden, right? When usually we don't manage our time, we feel a little bit suffocated and anxious. So being able to manage our time gives us this free mental space and gives us more energy. And of course, it gives us time for more activities, right? Okay, Brian, you have a really nice question. I will cover it more when we get to the end, to the topic related to what you're asking regarding how to control our bad mood, right? So if I don't cover it, ask me that question again. Thank you. So we have tons of reasons to start managing our time wisely. And what's the first step, right? What do we need to do first? Well, many people, they ask themselves, how can I do more with less? Right? And this is a valid question, yes, although we could find a better question, which is how can I do more meaningful, valuable things? And this is where we need to have in mind a very key, important secret, which is not a secret, a big, important realization, which is we should always set our compass first. What do I mean by this? I mean, we may do many things, right? And we want to do many more things. The key question is, why do we want to do them? What for, right? It is not just about doing more and fastlier, but it is about doing it wisely, effectively, and purposefully. Sorry. So it is like, okay, what is my mission? What is my goal? What do I want to achieve, right? When we consider the resources and the goal we are pursuing, then we have more chances to make sure that what we're doing is really meaningful and valuable. Otherwise, we may be caught up in a situation where we are just trying to do things that are not really useful, that are just waste of time, right? Can you think of things that you have in your daily life that you do and you're like, when you reflect this, why am I doing this? What for, right? So having in mind the why is essential. Probably, you know, Simon Sinek. He is a coach, speaker. He has many books, really interesting YouTube talks, TED Talks you can find. And he has this concept of the golden circle. Have you ever heard about this? Can you share in the chat if you have heard or not? And basically what he says is like, most people, many people, yes, thank you, Serena. Many people and organizations, they know what they do, right? If you talk to someone who works in a high rank, or if you go to webpage from different organizations, you can see what they do. And sometimes we can also see how they do it, right? Someone provides a service by doing this or that. The tricky part gets to when we start exploring why they do what they do, why companies do what they do, why people do what they do, what drives them, what motivates them. So we should always take a look from the other perspective, which is we should always start with why. Right? This is a really interesting book. You can read, you can listen to, probably YouTube, there are many short versions or the audio book. So this is a really nice recommendation. You should always start with your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What for? Right? When we have this drive, when we have this vision of what we want to achieve, things that come in the way make sense, right? So when they make sense, you approach them in a different way. And how do we do to set these goals, right? To set our north, to really make sure that our compass is really well oriented. So the first thing we need to do is to really create this path, right? To say, this is where I'm going. This is what I want to achieve. These are my goals, right? And how do we set goals? Probably you've heard about this word, which is an acronym, SMART. We talk about SMART goals. If you've never heard of this concept, then you are in a very lucky day, because this is a very simple and useful concept to understand how do we set goals, how do we make sure we are aiming at the right direction. So when we talk about SMART goals, we can cut a little bit what each letter means. And when we start by the S, it means make your goal specific, right? What does this mean? Well, be clear and specific about what you want to achieve, right? You can't be, oh, I want to be a successful professional. What does that mean? What does successful mean? What are specific what you want to achieve? That is too vague, that is too broad, that could mean many, many different things. We need to be specific about what we want to achieve. Then we also need to make it measurable, right? We need to have a metric of how we can track our improvement. So that means we need to be able to track our progress, right? And also let us know when this goal is achieved, because if we don't have any metrics, then we may be pursuing something for doing, and we don't really know when we got there, right? Because we don't have a measure, or we cannot see if we have done any progress or where we are with our goal achievement. Another aspect we need to consider is actionable. It has to be something achievable, right? If I say I want to become the next football player, a successful football player, well, chances are I'm not going to get it. I don't even play football, right? And I might be too old to be the new Messi, although that couldn't be bad. That's not really actionable or achievable, right? So I need to have a goal that is something that I can achieve, that depends on me, and that they are under my control, right? There are many, many things that I cannot control, many things that are outside of my spectrum of action. My goal needs to be within the things I can do in action. Of course, a goal also needs to be realistic, right? If I said to myself, I want to be the next CEO of Google next year, how realistic is that? Doesn't sound very realistic, right? So I need to make myself aware of how this can be really achieved in a realistic manner. Also, not to frustrate myself, right? When we have goals that are too big, then we are setting ourselves for failure because, well, we were not going to achieve it anyway. So a goal needs to be realistic. And a goal needs to have a time. When are we going to do this, right? When are we going to achieve this? We can have a long goal, like a long-term plan, and say, yes, in 5 years, I'm going to be doing this. And we can also set ourselves different timelines and big moments in between, right? I can say, okay, in 5 years time, I want to do this. In 1 year time, I want to do this. And this is super important. If you have, who has completed here their first coaching call? Have you had already your first coaching call? In your first coaching call, you're going to be asked about what skills you're developing during your internship, and you're going to be asked also about what else would you like to explore during your internship? What are your goals for this internship? And you need to be realistic in the sense, okay, I still have 1 more and a half month more. What can I achieve in this time? Well, probably I can develop my networking skills. So a good goal would be to, by the end of this internship, I want to have spoken with at least 4 different people in the company. I want to have had an informational interview with my supervisor. Do you know what an informational interview is? Have you ever heard about it? Informational interview. An informational interview is an interview that you ask to someone just to ask about their professional experience, their skills, what they do, right? It's not to ask for job. It's to discover how the other person got where they are, right? For instance, your host company supervisor can be a really nice person to have an informational interview, because you can ask him, you can ask her, okay, so you are the CEO of the company. How long have you doing this? How did you manage to be here? What skills do you use in your work? So one goal for your internship can be network, and within your goal, you can have milestones, right? Okay, I will do by this time, I will have an informational interview with my supervisor. I will have added all these people to my LinkedIn account. So this is a really good concept, and you will also think of your next steps in your second coaching call. So having in mind how to set goals is really important, right? Just to see an example, we can imagine that you want to start publishing posts on your blog. So you say, you make it really specific. I'll publish 4 1,500 word blog posts on my blog each month, right? I will measure this because I know I will have 52 blogs in the year. So I will know how I'm going to measure this. This is achievable, it's actionable, because 1 post a week with this amount of words, I can do this. This is relevant and this is realistic. I can do it, but it is also relevant for me because I've always wanted to increase traffic to my blog, and I wanted to have this gymnastics of publishing constantly. So this is very relevant and realistic, and time bound because I know when I will be doing what, right? So this is a really good way to start setting our north. Okay, so now we know we have goals we want to achieve. And now we said, okay, how am I going to do to manage all this? Well, first of all, what we need to understand is, how are you managing your time right now, right? This is the first thing you need to know. So as an exercise to do when we finish our webinar, I invite you to really reflect on how you're using your time. Look at your past week, gain clarity on how you spend your time. And for that, you can create a timetable of your activities, understand how much time you spend on each activity, when you do them, and then reflect a little bit on why, what for are you doing them, and what goal or milestone are you trying to achieve, right? And then reflect. Probably you'll find some things that you're doing that don't really go into the direction of where you want to go and the things you want to achieve. So first of all, understand how you're using your time. Once you have understood, okay, this is how I'm using my time, what do you want to do next? Well, first things first. We need to understand that for time management, we need to plan and prioritize, right? Prioritization, techniques will allow us to understand the order of tasks. What am I going to do first? What I'm going to do next? And then we're going to plan, right? We need to plan how we're going to use this time. Do you currently plan your time? Do you currently prioritize your tasks? Can you share a little bit in the chat to understand where you are with this? And how can we know what tasks should we take care of first? This is a great, very useful, interesting technique, which is the Eisenhower matrix. How many of you have heard about the Eisenhower matrix? Have you heard about it? I can see, yep, nice. Yes, excellent. For those who do not know it, excellent. So you're discovering this really interesting, useful technique. The Eisenhower matrix will allow us to understand where we should be, how should we be dealing with our tasks and what we should be doing with this. Basically, it says we consider two variables. We consider how urgent a task is and how important a task is. And that will give us this matrix, right? Where we have important and urgent things, then we will have important things but not urgent, and then we'll have things that are urgent but not important, and things that are not urgent and not important. And what are we supposed to do with them? So let's say important and urgent things are things with pressing deadlines and negative consequences for not taking immediate action, right? This is a report you need to submit to your supervisor tomorrow. So what do we do with them? We do them now, right? This needs to be done just now. Urgent and important, we do it now. Then we may also have tasks that are important but are not urgent. These are activities without a pressing deadline that will bring you closer to the goals, that are part of the things that you do for your work, but they can be done later on. Let's say, I have 1 week to do this report. We have to pay attention to these because these are the tasks we may be prone to procrastinate on because we said, I still have time, right? For these kind of things that are important but not urgent, we should schedule them, right? We should find our timetable and say, when am I going to do this? And then you should put it in your calendar and say, this is when I will do this. And of course, do it, right? Then we have things that need to be done, but that need to be done right now, urgent, today, but don't require your specific skills or input. So these are things that are not really important, like in the sense of they will not get you closer to your goal. These may be paying your bills or things that someone else can do. What do you do with them? You delegate, right? In this case, you ask your family member, friend, hey, can you go pay this bill for me, right? Because otherwise, you're wasting time. This is urgent, but it's not something that you need to do, right? Or someone comes and asks you for a favor and you said, okay, maybe someone else can help you. You delegate these type of tasks. And then we have tasks that are not important nor urgent. And we all have these, right? These are distractions that get in the way, that may entertain you, but actually you feel worse after that because they don't bring anything to the table, right? They can be okay doing, but with moderation, but we need to be careful with them. And so how do we feel in each situation? How do we feel when we have important things to do that are also urgent? Most of the time we feel stressed, right? We said, I have tons of things to do. I need to do them all now. This is very painful. This is very stressful. This is not the ideal situation. How do we feel when we have important things that are not urgent and we have a schedule, so we know that we have allocated the time to do them? We feel in a way relieved, right? We have peace of mind, we have balance because we said, okay, I'm taking care of these things. What do we feel with, how do we feel with things that are not important but are urgent? Oftentimes we feel like a victim because we said, oh no, I have to do this, that is wasting my time. It's just like someone else could do it, but I have to do it. And this is a really uncomfortable feeling. And when we're doing things that are not important and not urgent, when we should be doing, of course, other things, right? Because if you're in your free time, be free to watch Netflix, to use Instagram and have fun with your friends. But when you need to be doing other things, doing things that are not important and not urgent make us feel really bad, all right? So how does good time management look like? Well, good time management should look like more of really moving things from the three different cells we have in our matrix to the not urgent and important category, right? That means plan so we can take care of our tasks in a proper manner, right? So for that, we are going to see what we can do, right? How we can do to start understanding how to improve our time management. So one exercise that I leave to you after a webinar is to really create your matrix today and understand how you're using your time and then how you can improve. And let's discover one way of organizing our weeks. This is what it's called time theming or time boxing, right? And this principle tells us we can use a vertical organization or a time theming organization. This means we all have different responsibilities and tasks throughout our days, right? Our weeks. And we can maximize our productivity if we organize them through themes or topics, right? So for instance, I can say, okay, in my work, or in my life, right? I'm going to dedicate Mondays for administrative tasks. That is everything related to payment. That is everything related to bills I need to complete. Maybe I'm a freelancer. So today, Monday, I'm going to be doing all that. Tuesday, I say, okay, I will do all tasks related to project management, right? I have this project I need to do. So I will tackle all these activities related to this topic. Wednesday is going to be my university learning day, all right? So that day I will have all my activities related to the course I'm doing, to the project I'm writing, the research I'm doing. So Wednesday is going to be my day, and so on. You get the idea. This is good because you can focus each day with a topic, so it will allow you to be more focused within your different activities. You can also think of time boxing or a horizontal organization. This is assign recurrent tasks, things that you do every day, to fixed times through the week. So on every day at 7 a.m., you're going to meditate. This is something you do every day. So you do it straight away at the same time, right? Every day from 8 to 9, you are going to check your emails. And this is great because it gives you a routine. And when you get into routine, then it is easier to develop more positive habits. And if we want to combine for maximum productivity, we can use both, right? We can have days organized by topics or themes, and also we can have recurrent activities horizontally planned throughout our week. One thing that is super essential is to identify when are you more productive. Do you know when are you more productive? Are you a morning person? Are you a night person? What kind of person are you? Can you share in the chat? For me, I've always been more of a night owl, which meant that I wrote my dissertation at 11 p.m. every day. You know, I felt like 8 p.m. my brain was full of energy and ideas. So I started writing, and by 11 at night, I was like having all my ideas written on the paper. But then, well, it was quite complicated to have a normal schedule, going to bed at 3, 4 a.m. So I kind of changed and switched and make some changes to put in practice all these techniques so I can be more of a functional person and be here at 11 a.m. where I am, and be fully awake and productive. So far, can you share in the chat one piece of information that you have found really interesting, something that you heard that you said, oh, okay, I think this is a nice idea. I'm gonna explore it further. Just write something, one idea in the chat. Okay, Serena, so you're like me. You've always been a night person, but lately you're more productive in the morning. That used to be my case, definitely. Now I have started applying all these different techniques, and I allowed myself to switch a little bit. Okay, so I can see here in the Q&A that someone shares that one key idea that you liked is the idea of using the time boxing horizontal way to put recurrent actions, tasks in your week. Yeah, that's a really good one. And also the Eisenhower matrix, that's really good. But because when you get an insight of how you're using your time according to if your tasks are important, not important, relevant, or not urgent, then you get a much bigger understanding of where you are and how you can improve. Okay, so let's move on to understanding. Yeah, the feeling you get, right? How you feel. Thanks, Fatima, for sharing. How you feel when you're dealing with each type of activity, that's super important, because we know that when we are in other cells that are not the schedule one, the important and not urgent, we start feeling a little bit anxious, right? And we're going to see that how we feel is super important to tackle our way to work, right? So how can we prioritize? So prioritization means understanding what tasks need to be done first and why, right? So one technique is the Ivy League technique. And this technique is quite simple. This technique invites us to do the following. So let's say this is Monday and you want to plan your week. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a list, right? You will start by listing 6 of the tasks that are more important to get done the next day or the present day. And ideally, you're going to do that the previous night, so you have everything organized. And you can choose at least between 3 and 6 tasks that you have to do, right? But no more than 6, because otherwise it can, unless they're very small, it can get a little bit not too achievable and reasonable, right? And we want to work within the SMART frame, which means we need to be working with achievable goals. Then after you have created all this list with 6, with your tasks, you are going to number in order of importance, right? Task number 1 is going to be the task that is going to be more important to you. Task number 6 is going to be the less important. So you said, okay, what tasks will bring me are more important and will bring me more benefits if I finish them tomorrow. Having a good night's sleep is super important, not part of the official method, but it's definitely good if you do that the night before. You have all your activities written on a paper on your computer, and then you said, okay, I know what I have to do tomorrow. This is nice. You go to bed a little bit more relieved. And then on the day, you start working on the first item on the list, which is the most important one, right? And you are going to work until you finish it. You are not going to go to another task until you haven't finished this one. And then the next step, once you finish, you are going to cross out to really make sure this, we need commitment, definitely, and we need to make sure we finish this task, and we can cross it out. We can make, I'm all into happy faces. When I finish a task, I put a happy faces on the thing, because the idea is to get the dopamine release. You know, our brain releases dopamine when we're doing things that satisfies us, right? It's like, oh, okay, this happy feeling. And so when we finish and we said, okay, I did it, right? I feel relieved, right? So that when the more we start having the habit of making sure we're finishing our task, our brain releases dopamine, which makes us feel like, oh, this is good, right? It makes us feel good. So we need to train our brains and bodies to really start developing a positive routine. And then we're going to repeat this process at the end of the day. All the tasks I haven't completed, I'm going to put them into the list of next day. All right. And so this is a really good way to, yes, I'm going to share the recording of this, don't worry, and also the slides, so don't worry. So, and if you by any chance don't get the slides, send us an email to internship coaching at Virtual Internships. I'm going to send the email, and we will send you the slides too, because I know there's too much content. The idea is that you have all the techniques, and then you decide which ones you want to explore. So we have understood how we can start prioritizing our tasks. There are other methods that you can explore. There are tons of methods, right? I'm just introducing you some of them so you can then later on explore and find the one that is better for you. So we can use the Pareto analysis, which Pareto says basically that 80% of a project's benefits come from 80% of the work. So this works by listing and identifying problems, then ranking them in order of the largest payoff. And then you can group tasks to make sure that you are prioritizing. We can group them to make sure you are prioritizing effectively. Another technique is the pickle chart, and another technique is eat the frog. You can then explore them, but basically what all of them say is start tackling that first big monster first, right? Don't leave it until the end of the day. My method of working, which was I used to be an idol, was a little bit dangerous. Why? Because let's say I start working at 7 p.m. because I'm more productive at night, and then at 8 p.m. something happens and I can no longer keep on working, then my whole day is ruined, right? Because I cannot have a day longer than all these hours. So leaving the most important task to the end of the day is risky, right? That is why you want to make sure that you train yourself also to find energy and ways of working that are also conducive to getting your goals achieved. One specific technique to manage your time, like let's say you have already created your list, you have organized your week, you know when you're going to do what, when, and what, is, okay, how can I work to make sure that I'm using time effectively? One interesting technique is the Pomodoro technique, which this technique implies you have your tasks, you have decided what tasks you're going to work on, then you're going to set a timer of 25 minutes, and during this 25 time, you are going to be dedicated and only and exclusively to this task, right? No cell phone out, no notifications, no nothing. 25 minutes of dedicated work. This will help you achieve flow state. We're going to see later on what flow state is. Then, and of course, it helps you be focused on a task. Then after the 25-minute break, you are going to take a 5-minute break, because there are different studies that said that our attention span is very short, right? This probably happens to you at university a long time, and hopefully I hope you're still with me after more or less half an hour, but this is a time where we all start getting a little bit distracted. So Pomodoro techniques makes advantage of, okay, 25 minutes is a reasonable time to be focused on a task. Then you wait for 5 minutes, do a break, go for coffee, go out to around your house, and then you do this process for 4 times. And this is a good way to really, concentrate and have small pauses. Some things we definitely want to have in mind when we are planning our week is some mistakes and how we can avoid them. So one definitely very usual mistake we make is that we tend to plan with over enthusiasm and idealism. This means we said, oh, I'm gonna have this done in 1 hour, and then it takes 3, all right? Or even less, we said, oh, today I'm going to do this, and we don't even think about how much time it will take. So one definitely key important thing is think how long this task will realistically take, and allocate time accordingly. All right, let's say, okay, if I need to write a 500 word essay, I know these are like 2-3 pages depending on the size of the letter, and I need to come up with 3 different arguments. I think that's going to be at least 3 hours, right? Because I know that 100 words per hour, well, the original ideas, yeah, I would need at least 3 hours, right? Another thing we tend to do nowadays, especially with Zoom, Google Meets, and all what we're doing is schedule one meeting after meeting. This is extremely tiring, right? Sometimes we think that we're being more productive because we have different meetings back to back, and we said from 1 to 2 I do this, from 2 to 3 I do that, and this is super tiring, and it is exhausting, and it's not efficient, right? Because we need time between activities, and special activities that take us so much energy, to free our mind. First of all, you need to ask yourself, is it really essential that you attend the meeting? Ask your team group, your team members, like, what are we going to discuss? Do I need to be there? Is my input needed? Or can I just skip it? If you need to go, it is important that you take notes during the meeting, and that you allocate a time after the meeting to wrap up, to write some notes down, and to really disconnect and allow yourself to pause a little bit until your next activity. Of course, another mistake we may do is forget your goals for the day, and not start by doing important things, but just with things that look easy. So watch this and have this in mind. So we have understood how to create a positive week, how to organize our time, how to prioritize. One key element of good time management is how we deal with emails. And let's discover some good practices to deal with emails. One key thing is make the habit of not responding your emails as they come. This will take you lots of energy. It will make you lose your focus. We should definitely have one time organized, allocated in the day to go through our emails, right? And what we can do is every day we're going to look at our inbox and sort our emails before we start replying them, right? This is going to be up to you how you organize your inbox, your email, but it is a really good practice to have different folders, urgent, organized by when you're going to reply, what needs to be done, use labels, use folders, and then you see your inbox, you start seeing these emails and you start sorting and said, okay, this needs to be done to urgent, this can wait a little bit, this can, and then you start moving them in different subfolders, you put labels, and then you know what you need to do. And then once you have sorted, then you start working on it, right? And you say, I'm going to reply to read my emails, to check my inbox only twice a week, right? At 1 p.m. and at 4 p.m. And I will until then. One good thing, one good practice is when you're sorting, then you can follow the 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule says, if when you're sorting your emails, you see an email that can be replied within 2 minutes, someone asks you, hey, do you know what time is meeting on Wednesday? It's easier to just reply, yeah, meeting is at 5, than actually sorting this, sorting it. So you just complete it right away, and then you finished. So the 2-minute rule tells you, go for it. If it takes less than 2 minutes to reply, do it now. And this way you also start advancing on the things you need to do. Also, once you have sorted all your emails, touch it once. This is a method called also only handle it once, or higher method, which means don't open an email, read it, then leave it for later, then read it again. If you can read it once and reply it, do it just in one time, because you will lose focus, you will lose time. This will be very unproductive. So, and if you can't answer right away because you need to wait for the reply or the input of someone else, then put it in a different category, which you have created already, right? And also, really good piece of advice, use all the functionalities of your email, right? Snooze an email if you want to have it later on. You said, okay, I'm going to reply this on Monday, then you put it to receive it on Monday. You read it, but then you said, oh, this is something I need to consult with someone else, mark it as unread. Schedule one really good practice. Don't say emails. Usually Friday, 6 p.m. is a really bad time to send an email because probably no one will read it. So maybe you can schedule it and you said, okay, I'll schedule it. So this will be sent Monday at 11 a.m. All right. And use all the functionalities that you have. Make really good use of this. Okay. So far we have explored many things and we're wrapping up. I think you've had lots of tools. And one really interesting key thing of time management is how do I make things run smoothly for myself? What does that mean? All these techniques and methods are going to work as long as we can find ourselves, right, as human beings, sitting in a work environment or a nice fire environment, and we are good in our mental spirit, right? Because if our head is somewhere else, these techniques don't have high probability of working, right? So one important super key thing is to create the right environment for you. No distractions, right? You know where you work better, but definitely have a desk, tell people you're working. Sometimes many people don't understand that we have a computer and we are working. So let your where you are know that you're working, turn off notifications, really prepare everything for you to work properly. Another thing, be really conscious about what and who steals your time. What are those things that happen that you said, this steals my time? How can I prevent this? Maybe I should start I should learn to say no, right? Also, mind and body, right? Definitely, you need to sleep well, always have water, right? And definitely plan your lunch. Right? How many of you have been through a long day and then, oh my God, I'm starving, I have a headache. And that's probably because you didn't eat or you didn't have enough water. So definitely plan that. Also, what we said, manage your energy. when are you most productive? Is it during the morning? Is it after you ate? When is it your best time to work? Be conscious about that and use that to your benefit. Of course, create positive routines and find rewards. Like we had this small dopamine release when we cross things that we finished. You have finished your day. What strategies, what things can you do to really make sure that you find a positive reward after you finish the task or your day? Think of that. And also avoid multitasking. I know sometimes we said, oh, we're looking for someone who can multitask. Yeah, but multitasking is not good for your brain. Every time you do one activity and you go to another activity, you lose focus. And your brain cannot do many things at the same time. We may think we can, but what is going on now behind the scenes is that it takes really lots of energy. And every time you move from one task to other, you lose focus. And the more you lose focus, the more difficult it is to concentrate. And the more difficult is to get a flow state. A flow state, probably you've all encountered this. A flow state is when you are working on a task and you're so concentrated and you look up and you said, oh, it's already been 2 hours. I didn't realize. Flow state happens when you are concentrated on one task, when you're focused on one task, when your brain really gets to do all these connections and really start working, and the magic happens and everything flows. That's the name of the state, flow state. So in order to achieve flow, you need to be concentrated only in one activity, right? You cannot have tons of activities at one time. And definitely you want to avoid procrastination, right? Procrastination is very complex. Some people think procrastination is about being lazy. No, procrastination is about sometimes we are very self-demanding. We have high expectations of ourselves and we say, oh, I will do it perfectly. So I want to do lots of research, and then time gets closer and we haven't done much and we feel bad. And it's like a never-ending circle. If you've experienced procrastination, you know it doesn't feel good. So make sure to plan. The more you plan with all the techniques I have shared, you are going to feel much, much better. And also include active pauses during your day. Like don't wait until you are super, oh my God, I can't anymore. Include pauses. So what questions do we have? What questions do we have? Can you share any questions you may have? And can you also share one idea you're taking away from this webinar? While you share these, I had a question, right? And I think it was Ibrahim that asked, how to control our bad mood? Well, this is a really interesting question. And one thing that we need to be conscious about is, which is another essential skill for work and for life, is scheduling your procrastination breaks. Yeah, but take the angle. Don't say procrastination breaks, but active pause. That's an active pause. Yeah, exactly. Well done, Helen. So emotional intelligence is about being able to manage our emotions. First thing about managing our emotions is to understand our emotions, right? And one emotion or like a state of mind can be a bad mood, right? So when we are experiencing a bad feeling or a bad mood, first thing we need to do is acknowledge that, right? We need to say, oh, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling in a grumpy. I'm feeling in a bad mood. I'm going through this. We need then to understand why. What is this emotion telling me? Emotions are information, right? That tell you that something is going on. Different emotions have different information. When we are angry, usually that's because a limit was broken. When we're sad, it's because we lost something, right? Because when we're happy, because something good happened. So understand, first of all, recognize emotion, understand what information this emotion is giving you. and really try to understand that it is going to take some time until you can change this emotion. But one key thing to hack this emotion is to change your state, physical state, right? If you're angry, don't stay there. Just go up, change your body, move, take a 5-minute break, put some music you like. If you're really, really, really angry, stressed, go for a walk, go for a run, make your body change how you are. You know, our posture really sends messages to your body. So one really good TED Talk I recommend is from Amy Cuddy. It's power postures, how our physical posture can change our mental state. Usually, you know, how does sadness look like? When we're sad, we tend to make ourselves in a little ball, right? We hug ourselves and the body understands, oh, we're sad, right? So we get sadder. When we have a power posture, we feel like, how does Superman, Superwoman do? Like open postures, like your back really tight, right? So change your body, right? And breathe, understand that this emotion is going to pass. And after you have done this process, you will have some more clarity to understand how to tackle the situation you're in. Was that helpful, Ibrahim? So do we have any last questions or some things that you're taking away and some things that you have learned that you will start doing? Well, Ibrahim, you're asking a good question. You're asking if we should plan absolutely all our tasks or we should be flexible, right? We should use both. We should plan our days, but we should also allow some flexibility and leave some spaces to make sure that we can take any unforeseen tasks that happen, and also that we can be flexible if a task takes longer. Also, when you start really developing the habit of planning, make sure to plan, being realistic on how your week works. What does it mean? In my case, I know that I tend to have many things that happen at last minute and don't allow me to do everything I want to do. Or someone will call me, or a friend will call me, or a student will call me. So I tend to plan things in this matrix where not the important things that are not important. And I plan with sufficient time to make any changes if I need to do so. That means if I need to do something very important for Tuesday, I'm not gonna wait until Thursday to do it, right? Or definitely not Wednesday and not Friday, because I know that if on Friday something happens, then I will be able to probably do it by Monday or Tuesday. So probably I will start doing this on Tuesday or Wednesday and said, okay, if something happens, I still have all these full days to do it. Does that work, Ibrahim? Like a combination of having tasks and times to do it, allocate time to do it, but also being realistic and a little bit flexible. Being flexible is super important. Yes. Okay. Do we have any other last question? Can you share a takeaway that you are having, something that you will start implementing now after this webinar? I'm all curious about knowing something that you have discovered in this webinar or that you will start doing. Who can share? Okay, here in the Q&A, I'm reading. After this webinar, I will start organizing my week according to different topics and themes that my weekly agenda has. Yeah, definitely. That's super important. That will allow you for focus. So because you know, okay, on Wednesday, I'm doing all my creative activities. Definitely. Who else? Who can share before we wrap up one key thing that they're taking away from this webinar? Okay, I'm reading here. I will try using the Pomodoro technique when I am not motivated. Yes, Pomodoro technique is really nice because it only is 25 minutes. So you say, oh, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I can do it, right? It's not that hard. What else? What else? What are you taking away from this webinar? Okay, I'm reading here. I will start creating lists of my things to do so I know which ones need to be tackled first. Yes, prioritization, super important. Okay, well, I hope this has been a very useful webinar. Hope you are taking. Yes, I will focus on important things most and do less important thing at my spare time. Definitely, definitely. And that will allow you to feel in control, right? To feel, oh, I have this. You are taking ownership. You will eat the frog. Exactly. Remember, the frog is that thing that you don't want to do. But once you eat the frog, you feel, oh, I'm so satisfied. Frogs, who could say that frogs could be a really delicious plate to start the date, right? So if you want to stay in touch with me, if you want to do some networking, you all know networking is an essential part of your professional and personal life. I invite you to connect with me. I'm always super excited and super happy to have interns in my LinkedIn because we never know where life will go. So I'll be happy to have you in my network. So contact me through LinkedIn. You can find me, Mirta Aguirre, right? You type my name and you will find me. So I will wait for all your LinkedIn connections to add you to my network. And remember that as part of your program, you have your 2 coaching calls. Probably you already have one, you will have a second one. Do take advantage of them. Coaching calls are an excellent moment to reflect on your challenges, on your next steps, on your next professional steps. Okay, so, and remember, you can always find our recordings on YouTube. So thank you very much, everyone. This has been a pleasure for me to have you all here. Hope you have listened to interesting techniques and wish you all an excellent day and an excellent week, and start planning your weeks so you can be super, super productive. So thank you, everyone. Have an amazing day and wish you all an excellent day, an excellent week, and see you next time. Bye-bye.